Okay, so here's just kind of a commission that I've been working on for a little bit. All of my lines are prepped and ready for me to color them in. Personally, the way I like to prep is I like to choose the color that I want. I like something that's a little bit lighter than what I actually want the end product to be, and then I set it to linear burn, but it's preferential to whatever style you like to use. So like I said, everything's prepped and ready for me to color it in. And then at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and select the magic wand tool over here. And you're going to want to go ahead and select outside of the lines. Don't select inside of the lines because you're going to get all sorts of fuckiness like that. That's not fun to color in with because you don't get underneath the lines, which is actually preferable in this case. So you're going to want to select just outside of the lines right here, just kind of a blank area. You're going to select and invert the selected area up here in selection. Right here, that's what I did. And you're going to want to shrink the selected area most of the time, at least that's what I do. And I like to shrink it by like 1 pixel. That's usually pretty good for my style of line art. And then whatever base color you're using, just kind of fill bucket it in. Make sure it's on a layer below the line art. That way it's underneath. And you just kind of fill bucket that. Select, deselect. And you should have some pretty well colored lines there. If I zoom in here though, you'll see that not everything is filled in. So what I like to do is I like to go ahead and just use like a regular pen tool and just kind of fill it in like that. It's just tiny little details. So you can either do it like that, where you just fill in the tiny little details, or another way I like to do it, which you'll still have to do some refining with it anyways, is same process, magic wand, select outside, selection, invert selected area, and then rather than shrinking your selected area, you expand it by like 1 or 2 pixels. In this case, I'm just going to do 1. Layer, fill that in, selection, deselect. This one is a little bit more filled in, as you can see, at least by the wing where the lines are a little straighter. But outside, if I zoom in closer, you're going to see that there's just some unwanted pixelization. There's a good example right there. Just some by the ear that I just don't like there, especially right up here by this wing. Right there. And rather than filling in extra, this is where you can just erase a little bit extra if you'd like to, and just kind of refine it that way. So it just depends on how much detail you want to refine and, you know, what kind of piece you're working on, what kind of line art you're working on. Of course, all line art is going to react to this differently. Sharper lines, rather than sketchier lines like what I'm using, are usually a lot better with the Magic Wand Fill tool because you won't have to do as much refining. Granted, for fine details, you're probably gonna do refining anyways, but I found that with smoother line art with like pen tools and whatnot is a little bit easier to refine and usually takes only a couple minutes, whereas with my sketchier line art it takes too damn long, I think, to refine. So it's a good thing I think it looks good, because otherwise I would not go through the trouble of refining all this. But oops. Yeah. So those are just kind of some options you can use as far as coloring in things. Another way that I found, which is a little more tedious but can kind of get you more of the specific result you're looking for, is using like a pen tool and kind of going back to elementary school, just like filling in, like outlining it this way. And sorry, that was my cat. He just like ran over my computer. Filling in on the outside, and then when it's kind of filled in all the way around the edges, I'm not going to do it because that's too damn tedious right now. You can do the same thing where you select, invert selection, and fill it in that way. Or you don't even have to do the selection, you can just color around it, but that's kind of a pain in the ass and probably what you're avoiding. So I would just stick to the magic wand if you're just looking for something quick and easy to kind of color. I don't know exactly how Fire Alpaca works, but one thing that I like about most programs is when you make a new layer, you can mask the layer with each other, if that makes sense. You can clip it together. That way, even though I'm on a completely separate layer, let's just use this purple just for the sake of tutorial, you can color and it's still locked within this base layer right here. As you can see, it's still locked within there despite it being on a different layer. Whereas if you don't clip it, let's unclip it there, it's going to be outside of that. Clip it, it'll be back in there. That's nice for like different colors or things like sparkles. Like Moment here has a lot of sparkliness and lots of different coat colors. She's really a beautiful character, but probably not the best character to color on just one layer or a layer that doesn't clip. So that's kind of what I do as far as coloring. I hope I was okay at explaining it. I'm not the best at explaining things, so I hope I did it justice and I hope I helped you out.